I want to show off the new ShipTech picker. This is a slightly modified version of the 318 version. I'm not sure which one I like better. I'm still experimenting with it. But in this version, what I want to show is how quickly the AI can get to really big ships. So for this one, I put it on brutal so that it has lots of resources. And before it could do this, but it nowhere near as efficiently. It'll take a little bit of time for the purse setting to kick in. We have a setting that'll make this run as fast as it possibly can, and keep the lag down. I'll keep the lag to 0.05, and still be functional. So the game's running in debug mode right now. This also shows how much of a difference ship designs make. So here you can see the clock rate is running up, and in debug mode, and I'm running the game in debug right now, so it actually runs. It can't run as fast as it normally can, but it'll keep the lag to about 0.05. So we're at year 17. Still, oh, they've got. Yeah, I think the polyps have frigates. Oh, not yet. It must have been a starter ship. But this is a debug window. By getting into debug mode by pushing Control Shift tilde and then pressing H, it'll bring up this window. And this window will show the technology that it's researching here, and how many tech points they have, and some other information about it. So the polyps they're researching cruisers at year 28. And so are the Kalrathi. See if they're able to build any of those yet. Nope, just frigates. $10.35. Yep. So they are able to get to cruisers at about year 35, year 36. And now they're researching battleships. They could very possibly, depends on how much research they can get, they can very possibly get the Titans by about year 80. I'm running this game right now with Ishin's ShipPack, which has a whole lot of designs for vanilla games. Really need a ShipPack for shooters Star Trek. It has holes in its ship progression, so it makes it difficult for the AI to build new stuff quickly. Let me take a look at some of these ships. Find one of the cruisers. So this is a really simple design. This is why they can build it so quickly, is because all it has is armor and some basic stuff on it. Since it has no shields, it doesn't have to research that technology. So the ship tech picker that I put in here will focus on a line. So if it doesn't need to research shields, it's not going to research shields. It's going to find the ship that has the least amount of technology required, that it has the most offensive strength. And so if it has a whole bunch of armor designs that go out to Titans, it's going to build out the Titans with armor designs. And then once it's run out of those, it'll start branching out into different stuff, but using the same concept. So it's going to try to get ships that require the least amount of tech, that are the strongest it can, until it runs out of designs. And this is using the scripted system right now. The McShooter system uses the random system, which I modified to be able to utilize this concept. So when it randomly chooses, and it's weighted on how it randomly chooses what kind of category of tech it's going to choose, but when it chooses ship technology, it will use the same system. It'll send to the script engine a custom script, basically, that lets it pick out all this stuff. And there's two modes the way this works, right? So right now, what it's doing is it's trying to get the biggest ship that it can as fast as possible, which is the least amount of tech required to get the biggest offensive ship that it can. There's another mode where I do it where it looks at everything it can, and chooses ships based on their strength and the least amount of tech that they require. I'm not sure which way is better. Right now the 318 upload uses the alternate method, not this method, and I'm thinking I might put up another download that does this one and try to get a comparison between them, but yeah, I don't have enough information right now. The other one is safer because it's going to look at all ships and still use the same concept. It's just this one prioritizes ships that have lower technology. The other one prioritizes ships that are more focused on a line, but it will look at more ships when it does it. This doesn't look at as many ships when it's picking through stuff, so it zeroes in on stuff much faster. Probably should have let it run while I was babbling. But I'm just curious. It's going for battleships now. Year 48. Looks like it'll have it pretty quick. So it'll have battleships before year 50, most likely. You know, it's not just researching holes, it's researching all the technology to unlock a ship. That includes the hull. So, when it gets that completed, it's going to have a ship to build based off of it. Now, the previous system, in the regular vanilla system, Star Drive 15B, it's very random. If it's not scripted in the economy scripts, it's basically just picking at random whatever technologies it can, which works, but not very well. So once you get a whole lot of designs in there, so even if you don't, it's going to have a very difficult time trying to get a good ship together, because it's just randomly picking different modules, and then if it happens to find one, it happens to research enough of them that unlocks a ship, you get a ship. But when you put a bunch of designs into the system at that point, You have a better chance of getting ships out of it, but it's still really slow in trying to get good ships. In this system, though, it's going to get ships fast, which should make a really big difference on, especially in the brutal modes of the game. I know they got battleships, and now it's researching Titans. And it does this based off of, it's not just doing it blindly, you know. So when it's looking at the economy and it's looking at the research that it has available to try to pick these out. It won't research a Titan unless that's the only design it has available. If it's going to take 70 years for it to do it. If it has other designs that are cheaper, it'll do those instead. So it's got some intelligence in how it's doing it. Not a whole lot, but it could be expanded to be better. But it is looking at the economy, and it is looking at the research it has available before it just goes and builds these things. So the polyps right now have 30 points of research, which is pretty high. So they don't have a lot of constraints on what they can build. But yeah, they'll be producing Titans before year 80 at this rate, which is pretty good. And they may not be very good Titans, right? They may be very similar to these those armored ships that the Kilrathi had, which the other system that I have, right, where it's doing a more methodical search of all the ships, that's going to build better ships. This is going to build stronger ships as fast as it can. There's the two different modes that it works at, and maybe I'll upload this version and maybe I won't. I'm not sure. In the other version, it will not get Titans by year 80, at least very unlikely. It's going to have very good cruisers and maybe very good battle cruisers, but very good cruisers, very good frigates, which maybe is better, maybe it's not better, I'm not sure. Having really big ships fast may be the better way to go. There's also a difference in size of these ships, which I guess makes a difference. I'm not sure if it really does or not. I don't think so, but maybe it has some effect in it that I'm not quite aware of yet. So like the Drylock cruisers are big cruisers, so there may be some difference in how these things are set up. I'm running with the larger icons. That's why these things are, the ships are fairly large. The icons are fairly large. That's a setting in the options panel. There's a slider for how big the icons can get. Requested by one of the players who was having a hard time seeing the little tiny thingies, and I agree. They're very, very small. In fact, I kind of like playing it with the bigger icons like this. It feels more game-ish, I guess. Might as well show off this too. Machiters put in the auto research, auto taxes, and this uses the random system. But it's going to just go and start researching tech. This is very similar to what in McShooter's Star Trek mod, how it will go through and look at tech. Although in there it has the ability, I really want to fix this thing so that when you click on the damn button it doesn't click through to these things. It bugs the hell out of me, but I digress. In the McShooter system he has a random, he incorporates the random system, and I think it's a really good idea. And I'm thinking of trying to expand onto that a little bit more. the random system gives the opportunity to put more AI into the AI. So instead of using the scripted process, it can on the fly figure out if it's going to be a good idea to research X, or it needs economy stuff, and it works too. I've added some stuff to his code already that that does this. Like I said, it'll go through and pass stuff off to the scripted system, which has more logic. I just didn't want to convert it all over to the random system, so it's kind of a hybrid between the random system and the scripted system. But if the A starts running into economic issues, it'll start researching economic tech, and it makes a difference. It start crashing its technology. It'll build that stuff, and it'll start putting on its planets, and then bring itself out of tech, or out of crash. I've seen it do it, so I know it's working. That random system really is only set up right now in the Star Trek mod. In the BlackBox vanilla stuff, it's still using the scripted stuff, and I'm thinking about changing that, but I don't want to do that quite yet. I might make an alternative economy stuff for it. Well, it researched Titans. I don't know if it's built any yet or not. Doesn't look like it. It probably needs to have that shield technology researched in order to be able to utilize it. Take a look in the ships and see, maybe it doesn't have capitals, but those are probably the battleships. It doesn't look like it's... Yeah, it doesn't look like it was able to quite get Titans by year 80. See if it does it when it gets past the heavy shields. Another thing I'm concerned with here are the problem is the polyps are they're really peaceful, so they're not going to go, you know, get into a lot of wars with people. So they'll have... This is why they survived at the end of the game often, but these big ships may not really help them all that much, but I don't know, I mean, certainly make it more difficult to attack them. This is on Brutal though, right? So this isn't the regular game. On Brutal, this stuff makes Brutal much more difficult. Because previously, you know, you could be at twice this and it wouldn't have battlecruisers, twice the stardate, and it wouldn't have battlecruisers. Especially, well, in vanilla anyway, just because it's not focusing its tech, it's just randomly picking stuff, and that is not going to give very good results. This gives pretty good results. Well, I've been putting in also some stuff into these readouts, which you can't see very much in here because it's all player-based, so without a player on there, it's not going to really show anything. But there's a little icon for troops down here when you expand the solar system. There's some more stuff I need to put in here, like in this, when in the galaxy view, it needs to have information. Especially when you zoom into the solar system level, it should have more information on the planets that it has. And there are times when you can get deeper information in there, but it definitely needs more. And there'll be icons on the side here for if there's... It already does this if there's an anomaly here, but it'll also do it if there's commodities now as well. Plus troops, it'll show a troop icon or something like that over there. Might as well show off, let's see if the polyps have got... Really disappointed they didn't get it by year 80, but I guess it's kind of random when they're actually going to get them, right? Depends on their starting position. And I want to change the way that works, but those thought crystals are really unbalancing. I'm not sure if that's a bad thing or not, but they probably should limit the amount of them that can be spawned on any planet. Because right now it can get up to 4. Now 4 thought crystals is a lot of tech. So you might limit it to 1 or 2 or something like that. Maybe put it another commodity into the basic game for economy or something like that. You know, some see if it's possible to do it. The game, you should just be able to add whatever, and the game should accommodate that. So that really shouldn't be that big of a deal. But thought crystals are pretty unbalancing. They're at 55, pushing their economy pretty hard right now. Well, maybe they'll get Titans before year 100. You see here too that there's the spy count and the spy defenders. When these numbers don't match, then they're sending out spies to go and do stuff, right? And I need to work on this some more, because they should really bang out these spies more, especially on Brutal. But they need the spy defenders, so I mean it's a balance between how much they're going to send out and how much they're going to stay around to protect. If they're too offensive, they're going to get killed themselves by spies, and it'll make things very strange. But I don't think they're quite aggressive enough, and they're certainly not building very many spies on all of them. I'm not sure why that is. They do have limits on how much they can build, but should have more spies than that. They certainly have enough money for it. Okay, let's see if I got it now. Here, 99. No, it doesn't look like it. Probably not gonna make it. That's a bummer. But close. Titans by year 100 isn't terrible, but I think a player with these many resources should be able to get there sooner. I think, and still have some fairly decent ships, and I'm gonna try and get it at least close to that. Part of it, though, is the way the ships are designed. So not only the tech is focusing, but there has to be a clear progression of ship designs in order to make that work, right? So it can't design its own ships right now, which is unfortunate. But if it has a clear line to research, then it's going to focus on that line, and it'll just do it automatically. If you drop a bunch of ships in there that have a clear line of progression, it's going to use the offensive strength calculator that it has to figure out which one it's going to utilize, but it'll focus on that path. Bummer. On Brutal, it's interesting too is that the number of ships increases because it has more resources for these ships. And that only goes up when you increase the map size of the planets. And that I didn't really think about the difficulty level of the game increasing the number of ships in it, but it definitely does. Well, quickly go over a couple of things before I go. The new research, the new diplomacy screen, which need to make moles make this information show up. The espionage screen, there's no things, but they give the age of the dude and how many missions they've done, which is kind of cool. And the standard stuff over here, and the repeat spies and mute spies to keep them from spamming you over here. And then the defensive information, counter espionage strength. Very nice. This is McShooter's work, and I think the doc had helped on some of this stuff too. The Empire screen, what did we add here? I'm not sure if we added anything here. Definitely need to do more work in this area. Beats didn't really change a whole lot there. Ship list, I did add some stuff in the ship list, I think. What did we put in here? I don't remember. Planet list we added stuff into. This is the it used to show anomalies here. It still does, but now instead of just the anomaly, it has the icon for the building, and when you hover, it'll tell you the details for it. So so you don't just, you explored it already, you just haven't set any troops down, so this gives you the ability to see what it was. And they added the send troops option here, so if you have troops on a planet nearby and there's not any combat going around, or they're just floating around in space someplace, you can click the button and it'll send troops to the thing. If you don't have any troops, it will not be able to send you any troops over there. And it'll stack these things up, so before you just got like an anomaly, right? Now if there were multiple anomalies on here, it would start stacking all this stuff up over here, and it will do that. So like for commodities, do the same thing. So if we had multiple kinds of commodities, it would stack them all up, and if you had a lot of them over here, of course it might get kind of crowded. I don't have any code to help prevent that, so eventually if you had enough, it would collide with the text, which wouldn't be too cool. I don't have any troops to have any troop icons, but the troop icons will show, if you hover the troop icon, it will show you how many of your troops are on the planet. Like this guy has 4. Does Wolfar have that one? I wonder if they took it from the polyps. I would assume the polyps had this one because they had so much tech earlier. Let's take a look. Oh no. Definitely want to get this performance increased. And there's some ideas to do it, but I don't want to make any of those heavy changes right now until Radical Elements is released. I'm really tired of fixing bugs, I tell you. Really tired. And there's still a bunch of bugs to fix before I could really say this is like good to go, but it works great. I mean, it's very stable. Still runs into out of memory errors and things like that, but it's it recovers pretty well. I did a lot of work to try to help with all that stuff, but They may not be building Titans because they don't have the economy for it. It's a possibility. They're got enough ships for it. They should be able to do it, but I don't know. Maybe it probably needs the torpedo for it to do it. No, it's working on a dreadnought now. I've got this thing, I've got the debug output that'll show what ships it's looking at and for all of this information. You can't get that normally in game. You have to run it under a debugger in order to be able to see it. But this is what it needs to unlock the Titans. So didn't quite get Titans by as quickly as I had hoped it would, but it's also, I don't know, it definitely could have more technology, so that maybe because it's kind of cramped, being in the center of the map, but they're strong though. I mean, even a weak Titan is still a Titan, or battleship anyway. Might be able to increase the speed a little bit by turning off the simulation. Now here's the icon sizes, you can see them. I like running it about 15 or 16. I also like playing with the pause on notification a lot. That is what Shamat put in a long time ago, back in DevX mod. But I really like the feel of having pause on notifications, so whenever something comes over here, it pauses the game. Yeah, it's great. I like it. I don't normally run it in situations like this because this is just running in performance mode, and I want it to run as fast as possible. It's not going to run as fast as possible in normal games. This is just a special setting so that I can let the AI run. I've also got those settings so that the AI will ignore the player, as long as the player doesn't do anything, which is really great for testing. I'm sitting over here, but they won't attack them, or go to war with them, or trade with them, or do anything, so you'll get any diplomacy screens popping up. Alright, it's gotta have it now. Also made a change for these guys. Brutal mode, they start out at rank 3, and the effect of that is to change the targets that they're aiming at. So they're looking to aim at more explosive modules and modules that are already damaged. And totally, I thought that I had changed those warp sounds, and I did, so it only plays one. It doesn't do the volume amplitude issue that I was running into before. Apparently, volume on them is still way too high. I want to see more of these. I want to see these ships firing point defense, but these ships don't have any point defense, so that's why they're not firing. Well, they have a little bit here, but it's all facing forward. Killed a lot of these ghost ships and things that were getting left around the star bases, and things shouldn't cause the same sort of issues where they get isolated or ghosted or whatever, so the ships can't kill them. That took a long time to fix. You guys need more bombers. Also need more invasion fleets. Need to work on this so that the invasion fleets don't try to form in systems that are in combat. They changed this so that if it's forming a fleet and it gets into combat, it will disband the fleet, which allows all these allows the troop ships. And what they would do previously is they would just sit there in the system, and so you come into the system as a player and you see all these troop ships lying around, and they just wouldn't do anything. You just shoot at them, and they would. Kind of ridiculous. They changed it so that they disband the fleet. So when you come into the system, they'll actually as soon as the fleet is disbanded, the AI will try to assign roles to those things and will send them off to their particular ways. So they're not just free hits. But the way it's working right now is that if the AI decides to try to use the system under combat for its rendezvous points, it gets all buggered up. I need to change that so that it doesn't do that. It'll help a lot. Yeah, it really depends on how the ship designs are set up. Like Raleigh or Raleigh, whatever they are, is just getting battleships, right? Pops have had Titans for a while. So if the ship designs will let it, it'll just run that tech right out to get them. It may not be a very realistic way or the best way for it to do it, but yeah, makes a big difference. So I want to have like a few different ship design packs. So you can put them in there and or turn them on, turn them off, or have it randomly select these ship design packs that make it allow it to focus on a particular role, or change the way that it's doing this tech picking so that it'll look at the most offensive ships that it has a clear path to, and that's what it doesn't have right now. It doesn't know anything about that. It's just looking at the ships and building out stuff. If it knew where it was going, it examined all the stuff at game start to say, well, this is the general path of that it wants to take in technology for ships. That would help, because then it could randomly select those paths rather than like it was in vanilla, just randomly selecting tech. That would be far cooler, but I'm not going to put any more work into that tech picker for a little while if I can help it. That was not easy. Alright, this has gone on much longer than I thought it would. Like the pops getting expanding or they're getting killed. Start having some troubles with money. I put in some stuff so that if the money starts having trouble with money, it'll wipe out these space roads to save it some bucks. And it won't build it again if it's unless it has enough money for it. So they're getting low, and they probably went under for a little bit. But it's good that all the guys have the cash they need. Right? They've got lots of cash, which is all right. But they definitely should. If they have lots of cash, they should have more spies and be utilizing them as much as possible. But they're just a little timid about doing that. We need to fix that. Doc put in these new space road graphics, but they missing something here. And, Doc was saying that he was worried about the spaces in here, but well, I guess there is spaces in here. It didn't look like there was to me, but it definitely looks like there is, because some of these freighters just suck. They only can run at full speed while they're while they're in a space road. Yeah, well, it's a nice idea, and I would like that to work better. It's just not realistic, right? I mean, enough of the AI to path this stuff. It changes the pathing works better, so that it follows these roads more. These roads are expensive, so if the AI starts losing money and it needs to scrap these roads in order to keep itself going, then its freighters get all buggered up, and it's not cool. And it, the big issue with that is that, at least in vanilla, there's really no point in not making the ships warp positive. It's a nice idea to have them required to be in the space road, and it would be cool if there was some kind of point to it, but there's not right now. I mean, you put one more small reactor on it and it's warp positive, right? There's really no point in not doing it. At least on a big freighter where one square really makes very little difference in its all usage. I haven't seen it build any Titans. What's up with that? At this point, I know the economy is hurting here, but anyway. Alright, what's that? You watch this whole thing? Brave or something. Probably some other things to show, but I'm not gonna do it right now. Maybe later. Okay.